Well, it's that time of the year again, where shitting your pants is socially acceptable. It is Halloween once again, and the last couple of Halloweens have been pretty scary. Revisiting a shitty game from my childhood and being sent to a world without Super Mario Odyssey. Hopefully this year I can just shit my pants and call it good. But I still need something scary to talk about, so let's talk about the LEGO games on 3DS. That was time for you to shit your pants. I'm trying to scare you, remember?
This is the Nintendo 3DS. Did you know it struggled to take off at first in 2011, but slowly received more and more worthwhile games, and it did well, but not as well as its predecessor, the DS, but it still did well regardless?
Every time I mention that, I lose 5 years of my life.
Now, before I talk about how 17 of these games came out for the 3DS, allow me to recall my history with prior portable LEGO games. In July of 2013, for my 8th birthday, I received a DSi XL, and a couple of weeks later, for my grandma, I got a handful of games, including LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga and LEGO Batman 2 DC Superheroes for the system. My DS library early on wasn't anything good, in fact I'd call it bad. I enjoyed these games to an extent, but the impression they have left on me is not as big as the impression left from these two f***ers. I love these games, and I played them to death, more than likely more than their console counterparts. I think everyone can relate to this as a kid, not having as much of a say in the game consoles you had. Your parents just buy what's cheap and what's easily accessible, and for me those systems were a DS, Wii, and Xbox 360. And across these three systems I had a ton of LEGO games that I've played to death and adored. However, oddly enough, I feel more of an attachment to their DS counterparts.
Yeah. I'm criminally insane.
Another probably relatable thing as a kid is not having your own TV, and if you did, shut the f*** up, you spoiled f***. This meant that if I wanted to play games on our Wii or Xbox 360, I would have to wait until nobody was using the TV to play them, which meant my time with the console games were much more limited. I mean, most days I wouldn't be able to play any at all, and on weekends, I would get up early and stay up late just to play these damn things, which is how you grow more of an attachment to these things. The beauty of having the DS versions of these games meant that no matter what, if I wanted to play some of these games, I could play a version of these games. And of course, they weren't as good as the console versions, in fact some of them were f***ing horrendous, but many others were incredible. Looking back, it's crazy how high quality these games were for handheld ports of LEGO games. They were similar enough to the console versions to satisfy the urge to play them at any moment, but different enough to not feel like the exact same game, but shittier. I have a ton of nostalgia with these games, and throughout 2013, 14, and 15, I was gradually picking up all the older titles and playing them as well. But of course you may say this was in the middle of the 3DS generation. You never upgraded to a 3DS?
No, I was busy whipping around and spinning.
I always liked LEGO, but with the LEGO movie introducing me to Ninjago in 2014, my interest quickly changed from video games to LEGO sets. I still loved video games and would get some every now and then, but anytime my birthday or Christmas would roll around, I would mainly ask for LEGO sets and maybe a game or two. And with these three systems, I was perfectly content with just picking up older LEGO games for these systems as my video game experiences for those couple of years. Looking back, if I asked for a 3DS, I'm sure as hell I would have gotten one because there were so many cheap options for these things, but I'd never felt the need to ask for one. But as the years went on, I started to wonder what the LEGO games were like on the 3DS. Now I was well aware they existed. Back when Family Video was alive and well, I would always head straight back to the video game section and look at all the video games for every console, especially the 3DS. And around 2017, I started to get the urge to play some of them. I remember I was watching Valerian in theaters.
I am the only person who can say that.
And think to myself, man, I wonder what the character roster in the 3DS LEGO games look like. I have no clue why I thought that, but I think it's funny that that's the part of seeing that movie I remember the most. And on the way home from the theater, I remember looking up videos of the 3DS LEGO game character rosters, and it did create a new urge to play some of those games. I even remember seeing that there was a new 3DS model coming out that year that I considered asking for, but it was already past my birthday at that point, so I didn't bother, and instead, I started playing the mobile ports. Many of these games did make it onto the Play Store, and that's how I experienced a couple of them and scratched that itch, and since then, I've been satisfied.
But as the years went on and I got older and older and I realized how terrible LEGO Marvel Superheroes on DS really was, it kind of got me curious. Were LEGO games on 3DS like that beforehand? And were they like that afterwards, or was it just a one-time thing? Well, I have all of them right here. I waste my time on a normal basis now, and so let's take a look at every single one of these.
There are 14 traditional LEGO games from 2011 to 2016, and the 3DS received 17 LEGO games in that time period. Yeah, every big LEGO game from that time period, aside from LEGO Dimensions, received a 3DS port, alongside 4 original titles made specifically for portable systems. I say that because these original titles also did release on the PS Vita, however the PS Vita only received 13 LEGO games, as a couple came out too early for the Vita, and a couple were exclusive to Nintendo. I never thought the 3DS received this many LEGO games, but having all of them, holy f***. Well, let's take a look at all of these, and by a look, I mean a peek. I can't possibly play through every single one of these, but some of these have DS versions I've played through, or mobile counterparts I've played through, so I've experienced most of these in one way or another, but this is more so looking at these versions and seeing if they're a worthy follow-up to the DS LEGO games, or if they're LEGO Marvel superheroes. Well, with that, let's start with LEGO Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars.
Where else would we start?
LEGO Star Wars 3. You'd think with me being a massive Star Wars fan, I would have played the console version.
Nope!
I've dabbled in it at friends' houses, but I've never played the console version myself. I recently picked up a copy and I've seen gameplay footage, so I know various aspects of it, but I haven't played through it yet, even though I'm dying to. But I have played the DS version, and my god, it's okay. But since I played the DS game, I do have a good frame of reference to see if this feels like a huge step up from it or not.
This was actually a launch title for the 3DS. This is one of the games that should have sold the 3DS to people, and considering the fact that it got a price cut a couple months later, kinda says this game's legacy.
Well, starting off on the title screen, the top screen is taken straight from the console game, which is great to see. The DS port had a still image, so to see actual video on the 3DS title screen, it's a good sign. Hopping into the game itself, you're thrown into the Venator, the game's hub. The Venator was also in the DS version, however this time it's presented in a much closer way to the console version. Jumping into the first level, Ambush, first off the cutscenes are a very tolerable quality, unlike the DS versions. But as for the gameplay itself, it looks and runs better than the DS version, but that just seems like a no-brainer. It looks a lot cleaner and the gameplay feels smoother, but at its core, it still feels like a DS game. In fact, I'd say this looks and feels the way I remember the DS version feeling. Now looking back, it's definitely an improvement, but not a huge one. There are some very interesting changes made to this version that are universal across these handheld ports. First off, only one character is on screen at all times.
Oh god, is that foreshadowing something? Oh god, I sure hope not.
You still have a character party with at least 2 characters in each level, and you can still switch to them at any time. Characters have different abilities to solve different puzzles, so it's similar to what a standard LEGO game is like, but just only one character on screen is very odd. Something really cool about a lot of the older DS LEGO games is that they had multiplayer, and unfortunately, that isn't the case here. I understand not putting time into working multiplayer into these ports of the game, but it's still bizarre to only have one character on screen at a time. Next, I'm not sure if it's a change from the console version, but it is very different from prior handheld LEGO games. Each level is split up into 3 acts.
Oh, it's foreshadowing.
I don't mind it here though, each level still flows incredibly well. When one act ends, the next starts immediately. There's only a black loading screen, so when you play through level and story mode, it still feels like one large cohesive level, and it makes free play nicer because if you forget a mini-kit towards the end of a level, you can start at Act 3 to get it instead of replaying the whole level. Lastly, this may be a weird criticism, but the lightsaber combat here feels a bit too wavy. You slice through enemies real quick, which does match the Clone Wars, but I don't know, the combat just feels weightless and unsatisfying compared to prior games. It's okay, but it just sticks out hard to me. The second level, Destroy Malevolence, starts with a ship part, and it's okay. It looks and controls well, it's fun enough, and seems like something the 3DS could have made possible, and it was also in the DS version. Thanks. But that's kind of all there is to the main game, just 13 levels of what you expect from LEGO games, and free play with 10 mini-kits in each level, along with red bricks and true Jedi needing to be accomplished, along with a sizable enough character roster to unlock. It's a perfectly fine LEGO game for the 3DS, and if you got this game at the system's launch, it was probably quality enough. You can get some time out of it going for all the mini-kits and characters and whatnot.
But I can't stop talking about this version without bringing up the arcade games on the Venator. There are 4 unlockable arcade games that I have not unlocked here, but I have unlocked it in the DS version, so we're just gonna have to play them there.
There are 4 mini-games you can play, 2 of them being lame. One of them is an arcade mode for the ship level Destroy Malevolence. I get why they make an arcade mode, but man, it's boring because I couldn't care less about the ship levels. And the other lame one is a snowball fight. It's okay, you have to make snowballs to throw at the aliens from that one ice planet from that one Clone Wars episode. There is a bit of strategy, as it takes a second to make a snowball, and it can leave you open, but I never really cared for this one. The ones I did care about though, oh my. Droid droid volleyball, oh yeah. R2 plays volleyball against that one droid from Duel of the Droids, that's amazing. You volley a grenade back and forth, and it's so dumb, but I have so much nostalgia with this mode. I finally remember one car ride where I played this mode the whole time.
And not long after that, my parents tried to send me to an insane asylum.
And if I was sent there, I probably would have met the guy who came up with the last arcade game for Spaceball. You play as Mace Windu playing baseball with battle droids. You hit this energy orb, then afterwards use the touchscreen to guide the ball somewhere onto this target. Battle droids can catch the orb, but if you land it near some without them catching it, it'll destroy them, giving you bonus points. This is such a stupid minigame, but it's so damn fun. Definitely the most fun I ever had with this game.
Outside of those arcade games, that was LEGO Star Wars 3 on the 3DS. Impressed yet?
This game is okay, but my god, what a lame introduction to LEGO games on the 3DS. This just feels like a more polished version of the DS game. The fact that I compared it to the DS version so much is an issue. With a more powerful system, you'd expect more from this, but no, it's just not a huge step forward. It's not terrible, but it is a bad start to LEGO games on the 3DS. Well, at least I'm done with the first game. One down? I really need to get going. LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean.
I have a feeling this is more foreshadowing.
Like LEGO Star Wars 3, never played the console version, but I have played the DS version. Unlike LEGO Star Wars 3, I have no attachment to this franchise. I simply played this game because a couple of years ago I went through a I want to play all the LEGO games on the DS phase. I played it, thought it was okay, and moved on with my life. Well, now to the 3DS version. This sure does remind me of the DS version. And jumping into the gameplay, this sure does remind me of LEGO Star Wars 3 on the 3DS, kind of. It does feel a bit improved. For one, the camera is much closer to the character, making it feel more like the traditional LEGO games, but you can still only have one character on screen at a time. Why? Also, with this being a Pirates of the Caribbean game, they implemented dual mechanic, which seems cool at first, but it's a bit lame. All you do is watch this cool animation, mash a button, then press the buttons it tells you to, and it lands a blow. It's just a quick time event. Thankfully, fighting sword wielders outside of duels is kind of fun, as they can deflect your swings a bit, but it still comes around to just mashing Y. Fun. Some characters wield multiple weapons. Johnny Depp wields a sword and a gun.
Oh yeah, that's Johnny Depp.
Well, there you go. LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean on 3DS is the only LEGO game on 3DS that lets you play as Johnny Depp. Besides that, I don't know, man. I don't have much to say. This feels pretty damn similar to the DS version, much like LEGO Star Wars 3. It's not bad, and some of the unique mechanics like duels are cool, but overall, this is just a nothing game to me. It still doesn't feel like a huge step up from the DS LEGO games. Again, not bad, but man, this is literally just like the DS version, but prettier, like you're playing it in an emulator.
Damn it, man, how could Johnny Depp disappoint me?
The game is at least a decent length. It covers the first 4 films with 4 levels per film. 4 levels per film is a good number, and the levels are a decent length, and once again, each level has 10 mini-kits, or ships in a bottle it seems, along with the red brick and some character tokens. This is a solid enough portable version of LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean, and clearly the prior owner liked this game as he beat all the levels. Thank God, I can play London without playing any of the other prior levels.
But I don't want to go to England!
So hey, at least someone enjoyed this, but me, I don't need this. I'm ready to move on to something cooler, something I care about. Something truly epic, son of a bitch. LEGO Harry Potter years 5 to 7. Add this to the pile of, I didn't own the console version, but I played the handheld version. I rented the DS version a couple times from Family Video, and I always enjoyed it, and I always wanted it for myself, but every time I'd see a used copy at GameStop, it'd be like $25, and I wasn't even gonna try to convince my mom to buy that for me. Nowadays, I don't really care, and now I own this game. I couldn't really care for Harry Potter. I was a big fan back in middle school. I read the first 4 books, but then Order of the Phoenix did something called be super f***ing boring, so I stopped reading it. Couple that with the fact that I was annoying as f*** in middle school, so now years later, when I remember being a Harry Potter fan, I remember being super annoying. So f*** you, Harry. What kind of dumbass name is that? Well, LEGO Harry Potter years 5 to 7 on the 3DS. I saw this one day at Half Price Books, and may I say, what a store. I do enjoy picking up fine pieces of literature from there, but my god, they have some amazing deal on games. I picked up The Elder Scrolls Oblivion and Grand Theft Auto 4 and 360 last time I was there for $5 each. They go for $10 each on eBay, and I think this was like $10. So I did the unthinkable and committed an act of capitalism.
Who knew owning a game like this was possible?
We start off with another title screen that uses footage from the console version's menu, which is very nice, although it's just a 15-second loop. Woo. Anyways, jumping into the gameplay, I always loved how this game starts in a playground and you can interact with all the playground equipment. It's so stupid but fun. And once again, this is like the DS version, son of a bitch. Once again, it looks and plays better, but again, that's not fucking impressive. This thing was released 7 years after the DS, and once again, there's only one character on screen, which is just so damn stupid. I mean, this is the third LEGO game on 3DS, and yet it's still being met with a restriction that wasn't even seen in LEGO Star Wars 2 for Game Boy Advance. Besides that, what else do I need to say? You go level by level, solving puzzles and whatnot to progress. The LEGO Harry Potter games can be quite fun since you have to use a variety of spells to complete puzzles, but quite often, I find a lot of items that can be interacted with don't have the interaction prompts pop up when I'm near them, so sometimes it can be hard to figure out what to do to progress. It's not like other LEGO games where you can just destroy everything. Some things can't be destroyed because you need to cast a spell on them to solve the puzzle. What else is there? You have Hogwarts as a hub world, that's pretty neat. There's not much to do in there besides enter each level and use the shop and whatnot, never mind.
Oh my gosh, I'd yawn, but that'd be a bit too exciting.
Yeah man, I don't know. As I said, this is a fine game and you can probably get some good time out of this, but also, the collectibles seem to become a bit more meager. Each level has only 4 golden wizard hats, which seems to replace mini-kits. There are also 2 character tokens and of course a red brick and true wizard to collect, but this breaks tradition and offers less, which is a bit lame.
And these are the 3 LEGO games on 3DS in 2011. They're not bad, but just seeing how the LEGO games lineage started on the 3DS is pretty damn weak. These games did not feel like a big step up from the DS version. They felt like they looked better, ran a bit better, and that's really it. They didn't show new things that weren't possible in the DS games. They were just the DS versions but slightly better looking, and the DS versions just feel like these games made for a last-gen system, which they are. Which they should feel like, but this version should not feel so similar to the DS version.
Well, there were only 2 LEGO games on the 3DS in 2012. Let's hope they're better, starting with LEGO Batman 2 DC Superheroes. Now, I've already talked about the DS version of this game. It was one of the first games I got for the handheld, and I played it to death. So jumping into the 3DS version and seeing the same menu and user interface as the DS version, it was concerning, and then actually getting into the gameplay, my concerns were realized.
Son of a bitch.
However, actually playing the game, this feels so much damn better than the DS version. Sure, the level design and stuff may be identical to the DS version, but the 3DS version looks and runs so much better, which I know I've said for every single one of these games, but this time, I really mean it. Even as a kid, the DS version felt sluggish and rough. Aiming the batarang, punching enemies, there was a certain level of sluggishness that didn't ruin the game for me, but I sure as hell noticed. But playing this, man, I don't know if I can go back. It just runs so much smoother. Aiming the batarang is so much quicker and satisfying, and the core gameplay is straight up good. The game took a lot of inspiration from the Arkham games combat. There's more moves you can do and combos to pull off, and when you finish an enemy, the camera zooms in as the game goes slow-mo to show the takedown. As I said, this is a damn good game. It may be incredibly similar to the DS version, and while that may not seem like a huge step forward for this game, I see a step forward in the fact that this game is so much smoother here than on the DS. The levels are also much beefier than prior LEGO game levels, outside of a few exceptions. Collectibles are a bit different this time around. There are 5 Bat mini-kits, but each unlocks a character. There's red bricks, nothing shocking there, and the sound bites. Collecting these play a line of dialogue from various enemies. I loved using these to embarrass myself as a kid.
Whatever you build, I will break.
But how can I forget the biggest step forward? 2 characters.
They did it. After 3 games of floundering, they finally did it! I knew it was possible, they didn't it up!
Yes, finally, 2 characters on screen at the same time! This makes it feel so much closer to the console version. If you can't tell, I love this game. I grew up with the DS version, so I have that nostalgic connection to it, but this is the exact same game, looking and playing better than ever. It's still not the definitive LEGO game on 3DS, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. One lame thing is that the console version of LEGO Batman 2 introduced open worlds to LEGO games, and yet this game only has the Batcave for a hub world, but I guess it's understandable enough. Regardless, this is a great time.
Yeah, I like this one, which gives me a great idea 4 games in. I should rank all these after I review them. So, for the ones that I've already played, at the bottom is Harry Potter, then Pirates, then Star Wars 3, then Batman 2. Which would have been perfect if there was an open world, but thankfully it wouldn't be much longer until we actually got an open world in a LEGO 3DS game.
LEGO Lord of the Rings. Holy was this terrible on the DS. This is another I rented for family video occasionally, and I eventually got my own copy, and holy this version was terrible. It was so damn laggy and slow, you could tell this was not made for the DS. So this has got to be somewhat competent on the 3DS. Well, first impressions are disappointing as the title screen is another still image. Why? Some of these earlier titles proved it's more than possible to have video playing on the title screen, but oh well, we don't want to show progress. But actually jumping to the game itself? Whoa!
This isn't horrible!
So the first level acts as a combat tutorial, and my god, the combat here is actually pretty great. It does feel a bit weightless like LEGO Star Wars 3 combat, but there's much more depth to it. You can kick enemies to knock them off balance, block, it adds more variety and makes the combat much more fun. What follows is the platforming level, surprise surprise, but after completing this level, something incredible happens. When we regain control, we are Frodo in Middle Earth, and not in a level. No, this is free roam in an open world in a handheld LEGO game. Holy Now this was in the DS version, however the camera was pulled much farther back in an isometric viewpoint, but here the camera is at a low angle, more akin to the console games, and holy this is incredible. It's not as detailed as the console version, but who would give a
Not me, you don't understand how little it takes to make me happy.
Not only is there an open world, but there are collectibles littered around the world. It's a world you can explore and find stuff in, like the console games. This is a huge step forward, and again, while it is in the DS version, how it's presented here is so much better. This truly feels like a LEGO game made for a more powerful and capable handheld, and it's so cool to finally see that evolution. And like the console games, you have to solve a few puzzles within the open world to progress to the next level. It may seem silly, I'm geeking out over the littlest things, but my god, after playing these 4 underwhelming pieces of work, this is a breath of fresh air. Oh, and did I forget to mention you once again have 2 characters in your party on screen at all times? That's it, this is the best one yet. This truly feels like a handheld version of LEGO Lord of the Rings made for more powerful handhelds. The same way the complete saga on DS was comparable to the console version, this is comparable to its console version as well. Exploring Middle Earth here is an absolute blast. It's so cool that they condensed this entire open world onto the 3DS in a fairly uncompromised form. It's damn impressive, but it's so cool to see that they put in that effort.
And at this point you may be saying, damn Nicus, stop sucking the game off, to which I say, no!
The levels! They're alright. They're good, of course, that's what you'd expect from these games. But they're slowly becoming better and better with each game. More and more things seem less possible on the DS, and playing that version, it's instantly noticeable. While yes, LEGO Lord of the Rings on the DS is completely competent and passable, going from that version to the 3DS version is night and f***ing day. The DS version is still incredibly novel and kind of impressive, but the 3DS version is straight up a good ass game. Not just as a LEGO 3DS game, but as a 3DS version of this console game. This is the evolution I always dreamed of that LEGO games got once they moved on to the 3DS. I really adore this game.
And those are the 2 LEGO games on 3DS from 2012. And these were huge step forwards. I mean, looking back, they're not completely different from the DS versions, but the DS versions felt so laggy and sluggish compared to these versions, and these things started to introduce more concepts that the later LEGO games would have. Like, I don't know, open world and 2 characters on screen at the same damn time. These games were absolutely a step in the right direction and gives me great hope for LEGO games on 3DS in 2013.
Alright, next up we have LEGO City Undercover, The Chase Begins, the only game here that is a 3DS exclusive. This is a spin-off prequel to LEGO City Undercover, which was a Wii U exclusive initially, and it makes sense that its handheld counterpart would also remain a Nintendo exclusive, although I do find it a bit odd that they didn't make a DS version. I mean, it would have stunk, but there were still 3 more LEGO games that were gonna come to the DS, so they totally could have, but hey, that would have been a waste of time anyways.
Like playing this game.
I've never played it because, well, but the prior owner got 100% and played for 127 hours. Holy f***, what the hell? Well, at least someone really enjoyed this game, but will I? Once again, the title screen is lame. It's another still image. Why? Also, the game having this subtitle is interesting. The Chase Begins. Is this a necessary part of the LEGO City lore? The world will never know.
The world probably does know, I just don't give a shit to learn.
So our first objective is to go and get some donuts. How original. What a way to play with stereotypes.
I've mentioned other cop stereotypes, but I don't think LEGO would want to add that to their game.
This game is structurally different from many other LEGO games. While LEGO games usually have a bunch of levels that take place separate from the open world, This game structure is much more akin to more traditional open world games. In fact, it's incredibly reminiscent of Grand Theft Auto. The game has a mission structure, and every mission takes place within this open world. You can steal cars to drive around the city with. Hell, this city is inspired by various big cities, which have also inspired all the big cities in Grand Theft Auto. Ever wanted a Lego Grand Theft Auto clone? Well, here you go.
Alright, so we have a GTA clone. Wonder where the strip club is.
So yeah, this is another open world game, and it's damn impressive. This time it's a city, which is so cool. There are a bunch of cars driving around, pedestrians that you can try and run over. It's a blast and incredibly impressive for a Lego game on 3DS.
I see why they didn't do a DS port.
But this is far from perfect. First off, the frame rate can dip, which I do consider a good thing. Yeah, it's annoying, but the game is clearly pushing the hardware to its limit, which is good to see considering the fact that the first few games felt like slightly improved DS games. But still, the frame rate dip is pretty lame. And what's even worse is the draw distance. Again, it's tolerable. It's not too bad. Things in the distance gradually become more clear as you get near them, which is fine. But the pop-in on the characters, vehicles, and other assets is abysmal. They just fade in randomly. You can sit in a car waiting and you'll see a car fade in that's headed away from you. You'll be walking down the street and random civilians will just appear. It's understandable. It's a Lego game for the 3DS, and I greatly appreciate the ambition, but man is this limited. And this seems like a pretty deep game and definitely something that would probably not be possible on the DS. This isn't fantastic, but I really appreciate the ambition. On a technical level, I think this is better than LEGO Lord of the Rings since it does more with its open world. I just prefer LEGO Lord of the Rings as it feels more suited to the 3DS's potential, but also its limits. This game pushes the 3DS's potential to its limits, which is impressive and makes me happy to see, but its flaws are much more apparent because of it. Next up, LEGO Legends of Chima Lavals Journey. So Chima, one of LEGO's many non-licensed themes with a tie-in show from the 2010s. Why the was this the first one to get an original game? Yeah, Ninjago had LEGO Battles Ninjago, but that's a real-time strategy game, not an action-adventure puzzle game like the usual LEGO games. This year is that. Jesus, man, I swear you could always tell a Chima kid from a Ninjago kid. This year is the first game I'm looking at that is a handheld exclusive. This wasn't a tie-in game to a console game. No, this was made from the ground up exclusively for the 3DS, PS Vita, and DS. Yeah, this was still released on the DS, and my god, playing this on the original DS is an experience. Like, God just let this happen. Well, with the 3DS version, I am extremely honored to say I have this incredibly rare edition.
It's rare because nobody bought it.
Yeah, so one night I was browsing eBay, as I tend to do, and I came across someone selling these for $10 a pop. I saw this, thought, $10? I'd be an idiot to not buy this. So I did. Oh wow, it comes with a Crawly minifigure. Well, I'll be. I never got any Chima sets. I got a few Dimensions packs, and I did watch the first 2 seasons of the show on Netflix, mainly just because I didn't want to watch Ninjago for the 400th time that year. I will say I did enjoy the show, and this is a neat minifigure, but it's been 8 years since I've seen the show, and 8 years since I cared about this minifigure. My god, man, since when did you need a gun as tall as you? Honestly though, for a kid who was a fan of Chima, I can see this being an awesome little package. You get a Chima minifigure alongside a Chima game to play. Now, as an 18-year-old who's about to re-experience trauma from 9 years ago again in a couple of minutes,
I get nothing from this.
Well, as for the game itself, it's okay. It's back to the typical LEGO game format, made up of a handful of levels, each requiring puzzle solving, platforming, and light combat. However, there is still an open world, which is really cool to see. This game was made exclusively for handheld systems, and they totally could have just not made it open world, but they did. There are a bunch of little areas, one for each of the main races of Chima, which is awesome. Once again, this feels much more ambitious than prior games, and this evolution is excellent to see. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna get critical now. The combat here is abhorrent! It feels like it reverted back to LEGO Star Wars 3. The swordplay feels so weightless. The sword just goes straight through enemies, and these guys have so much health. It takes so long to kill a single enemy, which just makes most of the swings feel pointless. And occasionally, there'll be LEGO Batman 2 style finishers where the camera pans in and we get a slow motion hit, but man, it doesn't work here. It was awesome in LEGO Batman 2 because it was like the Arkham games. Here, it just zooms in, Laval hits them with his sword like a baseball bat and says, "Batter up."
Shut the f up!
And speaking of Laval talking, I sure wish he didn't. There's voice acting in this game, and my god, I wish there wasn't. The writing itself is atrocious. It's just so lame and childish. I get that was their target audience, but that won't stop me from complaining. And the voice acting itself, some of the worst I've heard in any game. And do keep in mind, I played Assassin's Creed 2.
Sergio, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
What happened? Where is everyone?
It would consistently pull me out of the experience. I mean, I didn't at all get invested in the world of Chima, but the voice acting may be to blame. Honestly, I think I may prefer the DS version. It's uglier, clunkier, a sin against nature, but it still has the open world and there's no voice acting outside of cutscenes. However, overall, Lavals' journey is good enough. For a handheld exclusive LEGO game, it's pretty solid and meets the quota of being a Chima game on the 3DS. I'd still put it under LEGO City, mainly just because LEGO City felt more ambitious, but Lavals' Journey is still a worthy successor of the DS LEGO games, even if it did still come out on the DS.
And those are the first two LEGO games on 3DS in 2013. And overall, these are a solid duo that were big step forwards for LEGO games on handheld systems. Again, one of them was still possible on the DS, but it was so limited compared to the 3DS version. And with the next LEGO game on 3DS in 2013, it could have been the best one yet, combining the best from all of those games, combining the superhero antics from LEGO Batman 2, the giant open world from LEGO Lord of the Rings, hell, the city from LEGO City. LEGO Marvel Superheroes could have been what truly pushed LEGO games on 3DS to the next. Holy is this game awful.
July 11th, 2014. For my 9th birthday, I opened up Ill. Within 5 minutes of playing, I realized this game was junk, which is why I almost 100%ed it in a few months. I've already gone on and on about why this f***er is a piece of shit that I have a soft spot for, but it's still a piece of shit. But I briefly talked about this f***ing piece of shit demo, and I came to the conclusion that it's the same piece of f***ing shit, but prettier and with more to do.
But now it's time to dive deeper. I have a full copy now, so now I can sink my teeth into this shit on humanity. You ever notice how ever since this thing released, the world has gone to shit?
LEGO Marvel Superheroes Universe in Peril. Going on to the Wikipedia page for LEGO Marvel Superheroes, the only time it acknowledges this version is where it says the game was released for handheld systems and when it was released. That's it. And it was released in February of 2014, but other sources say it was released in September of 2013 and October 2013. Who do I trust? Well, I'm gonna assume the 3DS version launched alongside the flagship version, while the DS version launched in 2014.
Now, I haven't really talked about the development history with any of these games yet, because what is there to talk about? They just take the core concepts and mechanics of the console game and convert it into a format that works well on handheld devices. But for LEGO Marvel Superheroes, they f***ed up the format so bad, it makes you wonder, how the hell did this happen in the first place?
Well, it's time to come clean. I was inspired to take a look at all these games by this YouTuber called Cam Reviews, who took a look at the entire history of handheld LEGO games. And with me being the universal apparel hater I am, I checked out that portion of one of his videos and learned something that blew my mind. He reached out to one of the developers who stated that this game was pretty much made from the ground up for phones. You see, most of these handheld LEGO games had versions brought to Android and iOS systems, and so with LEGO Marvel Superheroes, they decided to, instead of taking a game made for the 3DS and shoving it onto mobile devices, they made a mobile game and shoved it on the 3DS. And apparently this was even an unpopular decision for the dev team, as apparently some people left due to the decision.
That somehow makes this worse!
And after the failure of this game, they changed the formula back, thankfully. But that still gives us this smattering of shit to deal with in the meantime. So, how exactly was this game made for phones? Well, first off, there is a much simpler interface that just screams mobile games. The console game had 15 levels, and in this version, all the 15 levels are split up into 3 smaller levels that last just a minute or two. This was made to benefit mobile play. It's something that you can just whip out, play through a level, and then move on. These are incredibly shallow and short levels with almost nothing to them. It takes no time to complete them, so to make the game longer, they added all these challenges. Now, I do like the concept of the challenges, more things to do in a level outside of just beating the level. They brought challenges back in the Skywalker Saga, and I quite like them. They were an addition to mini kits and stud challenges and were fun. Here, they make up the bulk of what you can do in these levels. In this version, there are 10 challenges. Completion of each rewards you with a gold brick, and as the levels progress, levels will be locked behind gold bricks, so you're required to replay each level multiple times in order to get enough gold bricks to progress. When the level is loading, you can see the name of all the challenges, but you can't see what you have to do for each of them. Some of them are self-explanatory like mini kit and red brick, but others are an abomination.
Like this game, you.
Actually getting into the level, holy there's a lot to unpack. First off, the camera is now at an isometric viewpoint and it's farther back. As for the controls, you can no longer jump, instead you have a dodge move. You also have super moves and tag moves. With tag moves, you can call a partner who will come down and do a powerful move, and super moves is an ability you can do yourself.
Oh, because beating this game without them is too hard.
As I said, each level is short. You can beat most in like a minute. And remember how LEGO games used to have puzzles? Well, not anymore. All you do now is move forward and defeat enemies.
Because a mobile game can't possibly make you think critically.
And when you complete a level, you get the most generic font that says level complete. What the f***? This is what I meant by mobile game. This is the type of you see when you beat a level in Angry Birds, not a Lego game. In between each level, there's no cutscene. In the console game, each level could be broken down into 3 main sections, so I do understand the mentality behind this structure, but with no cutscenes to connect each level, it just becomes an incoherent mess. In the console game, we see Hulk throw Abomination through this window, which gives him and Iron Man an entrance into Grand Central Station. And after the inside Grand Central Station part, Sandman whips him up to the roof where we see Spider-Man come in and join them. But when the inside Grand Central Station level ends, we jump into the next level where we're Spider-Man on some platform in a sand abyss fighting Sandman. There is no context to the levels changing, and it just makes this game an incoherent mess. And while on the topic of characters, you are back to only being able to play as one character at a time. But not only can you only play as one character at a time, but in story mode, there is only one character in each level you can play as. You can only play as Hulk in level 1, Iron Man in level 2, Spider-Man in level 3. Now in free play, you can pick any character and then you can play that level as that character and the character that's playable in story mode. And that's it. Yes, in free play, you can only play as 2 characters. That means if you need a certain character's ability for just one challenge and need another character's ability for another, you must play through the level multiple times, each time with different characters.
Why? Because you.
That's what we like to call artificial padding, along with the biggest aspect that ruined this game for me as a kid. When you die at any point in the level, you must restart the whole level. At the very end and the last enemy kills you, too bad, restart. That is the stupidest fucking aspect of this piece of shit. The Lego games are kids games, and they aren't meant to be very difficult. When you die, they penalize you by making you lose studs. That's it. You respawn exactly where you were, you can recollect your studs, it's perfect. You still want to avoid dying, but if you do, it's not a major detriment. To take respawning, something that makes Lego games so much more approachable, and get rid of it is alienating a huge part of your target audience. I would know because I was a part of that target audience. Death sending you back to the start of the level is what completely ruined this game for me. I could live with the isometric viewpoint, I could live with the short levels, but being forced to restart the level when I die completely ruined this game for me. And looking back, it's such a stupid fucking decision that is only there for padding a game that really doesn't need more padding. Like requiring level replays to complete challenges to unlock new levels. Multiple level replays for that matter. That's not enough. You take what I still believe is one of the most important aspects of Lego games and throw it out the window?
Just like I did this game 2 years ago.
What a piece of crap. I was 9 when I received this game, and freshly 9, as in I was 8 yesterday. I didn't have much of a quality standard yet. I just saw something my pea-brain thought was cool and fell in love with it. I liked Lego games because they allowed me to explore some of my favorite fictional worlds deeper than any other piece of media would allow me, yes, but they were also so damn approachable. I had games like Mortal Kombat and Call of Duty, but never got into them because as a kid, they were too difficult for me. I wasn't great at video games because most kids weren't. And so the Lego game's only punishment being, hey, you just lost a few studs, made them so much more approachable. And for this to come along and remove that, it genuinely upset me. And for the first time I can ever really remember, I did not like a piece of media. And it hurt because I dreamed about being able to play Lego Marvel Superheroes. I've already talked about this, but I fell in love with the Avengers, and so to hear a game about Lego Marvel Superheroes was coming, I was ecstatic. I was disappointed when I heard it wasn't coming to the Wii, but was ecstatic again when I heard it was coming to the DS. I knew it wouldn't be as good, but I still imagined it being on par with Complete Saga, Indiana Jones, Batman. This may have been the most excited I ever was for a game, and it let me down immensely. I still played it to bits and had enough fun, but deep down, I always knew it was a guilty pleasure. And there was so much more I didn't talk about here that disappointed me. No open world, not even a hub world. No character customizer, lackluster red bricks. I've already said my piece. 2 years ago for Halloween, I let the pinup rage I had for this game explode. And since then, the game hasn't been bothering me as much. But now, thinking back to how much it disappointed me, and how even the developers regret it, it makes me hate this thing even more. I still have a soft spot for the DS version since, like Lavals' Journey, it's a disgrace to nature, but the 3DS version has no excuse. The fact that even the developers hate this thing makes it easier for me to say that Lego Marvel Superheroes Universe in Peril for the 3DS is my least favorite game of all time.
Sorry I got so personal. All in all, this game.
All in all, this game was a huge regression. After spending 2 years slowly making LEGO games on 3DS better and better, closer to the console counterparts with open worlds, collectibles in those open worlds, regular voice acting, all that, for this to come out and regress all of that, it hurts.
Those were the big 3 LEGO games released on the 3DS in 2013. Started off really strong with these two, but then everything was regressed with this giant piece of shit. And the developers early on really realized that this format was not the way to go. But this format would still have a lasting impact on the following games. However, before we got to those games, there was one last whimper from that pre-LEGO Marvel Superheroes era of LEGO games on handhelds.
LEGO Friends. This here, like LEGO City Undercover, is another Nintendo exclusive. However, this one also released for the DS as well. But hey, you can only play this on Nintendo systems.
And the moment this released, PS Vita owners realized they f***ed up.
So going into this, I'm expecting a life sim game, akin to games like Animal Crossing. I mean, you look at all these other games based on franchises that you can already imagine make total sense as an action-adventure game. LEGO Friends is a different beast. And, well, I'm kinda right. As I said, LEGO Friends is a different beast. The game is of course set in a casual town, you aren't stopping bad guys, you're just living life. You're hanging out with your cousin in Heart Lake City, and you do exciting things like build a doghouse. Yeah, this game is pretty brain dead. This game is so damn over-tutorialized. This girl here does not shut up. She explains how to do every little thing, constantly saying, go here and press A. As someone who's played 8 of these games in the last 40 minutes,
No.
you get a dog which you can customize, and you can customize your own character, which is cool. And the structure is pretty similar to LEGO City. There aren't levels, rather you have various missions to complete in this world. I would say open world, but holy this game is restrictive. Loading screens are abundant. Every time you enter a building, change your clothes, head to another area, whatever. It may not sound terrible, except in the tutorial where you're whipped around everywhere. Hey, go here, now there, now do this, now do that. And all of that includes a loading screen. Loading screen, loading screen, loading screen. So we're forced to go to Heart Lake High. What? What kind of school is this that lets anyone in to learn for free? And go to classroom to classroom. Guess what? Loading screen. This is just annoying. It's so damn slow. Brain dead hand-holding. It's just obnoxious. Oh, and how could I forget? The voice acting which we last saw in Lavals' journey, it's back here and...
When you're ready to build, press and hold the A button.
I just turned the volume off.
Not only is the performance terrible, but the dialogue is worse. As I said, this game holds your hand so damn much, and so as a result, all the dialogue is just so idiotic. There's so damn much. All for what? For me to be told I need to press A to change my outfit? I get this game is for a young audience, but holy girls aren't brain dead. It feels oddly patronizing. Like I feel like anyone would at least be able to figure out what they need to do on their own. And even then, you don't need these characters spelling out everything you have to do. You can just have a little text bubble pop up that just says, hey, press A to interact with this. But no, we need our in-game characters to say it. Now, with all that being said,
This game is okay.
I've been a bit harsh because there are plenty of flaws with this game that do bother the hell out of me. But at the end of the day, it is better than LEGO Marvel Superheroes. It looks solid enough. Like the more traditional LEGO games, the camera is lower. This is clearly much more akin to the pre-LEGO Marvel Superheroes games. And because of that, I wouldn't call this game terrible. It's just alright. I'm sure fans of the LEGO Friends theme could have gotten a kick out of this. I mean, it is what it's called, a video game based on LEGO Friends. Adapting that theme into a LEGO game is an interesting idea, and I'd say they did it pretty well. I'd still say this is one of the lesser games here. I think it's pretty flawed, and while it's not terrible, it's still down there for me. I'd stick it above LEGO Marvel, below everything else. Not great, but holy is it refreshing to get this after this. It's like getting a sugar cube after drinking the most rancid shit you can imagine. The aftertaste of the drink is still unbelievably strong, but hey, at least this one was a tad better.
And those were the LEGO games on 3DS in 2013. Ew. 2 of them were a step up in massive ways, 1 of them was a giant regression, and the last one, who gives a shit? And while these games didn't reach the peak of LEGO Lord of the Rings, they were still pretty damn solid. LEGO City had a giant city to explore, and Lavals' journey, it's pretty okay. However, considering that it's the first LEGO game we've looked at that's based on a original LEGO theme, it's pretty impressive. However, with LEGO Marvel Superheroes, their attempt to mobilize these games would set them back for the next couple of games and would have a lasting impact on the LEGO games in 2014. And speaking of which, we're going to get onto those, and we're halfway through the games now. Only halfway, a cocaine addiction sounds really good right now.
Alright, what's next? Oh hell yeah! And from here on out, there were no DS versions of these games. They were made from the ground up for the 3DS and PS Vita.
Which means there's hope, right?
So while this obviously means I couldn't have played this on the DS, I still have played it another way. Remember how I said they made LEGO Marvel Superheroes for mobile devices? Yeah, so a lot of these games had mobile ports, and back in 2017 when I had the urge to play some of these games, this was one of the ones I got, and I didn't make it that far. Why?
They're like brothers. What a f***ed up family.
Yeah, just because they realized the format they tried in LEGO Marvel Superheroes was awful doesn't mean they could immediately turn it around for the next game. So unfortunately, the LEGO Movie video game is incredibly similar to LEGO Marvel structurally, and because of that, I never got too far in the mobile version. I made it a few levels in, mainly just because I spent $5 on that version. And when you're a kid and you don't have much money to spend, even if you buy or get something you don't necessarily like, you still try and get what you can out of it, which is why I almost achieved 100% in LEGO Marvel Superheroes on DS. First off, this game has the worst title screen yet. At least some of the lazier title screens had art, but this is just the game's logo on a generic LEGO template. And like LEGO Marvel, this menu is so damn soulless. And like LEGO Marvel, every level has 10 gold bricks, which you're required to collect multiple to even progress in the story. There's still no jumping. If you die, you have to restart the level, and the levels are incredibly short and shallow. This quite literally feels like LEGO Marvel on 3DS with a LEGO Movie skin. I just don't have much to say about this because it's so damn vapid and lifeless. Only one character playable per level, no hub world. Honestly, I may consider this worse than LEGO Marvel. I mean, that's already terrible, but I don't know, man. These are both absolutely atrocious, and I wouldn't ever want to play either ever again. But I think I slightly prefer LEGO Marvel to this.
This is just frustrating. You ever play a game that you hate and you know you hate, but you just can't say what you hate about it, but you just know that you really hate it? Guess what game that is for me?
Yeah, man, this is just nothing. At least with LEGO Marvel, there was a lot to talk about since it changed so much, but this, it does nothing new. It's the same terrible kind of game, but now the LEGO Movie themed. And man, that sucks because the film is incredible. I've dabbled in the console game, and it was okay, so I guess I shouldn't have expected this to be that great, but man, this just stunk.
Well, we're one game into 2014, and that means we have 3 left that can be better than LEGO Movie and LEGO Marvel Superheroes, right? Right?
LEGO The Hobbit. Talk about yet another game I didn't play the console version of, but I also have no affinity for the Hobbit brand. Lord of the Rings? Oh yeah, I've seen the films multiple times. Excellent fantasy adventure films that tell a great coming-of-age story with a ton of memorable characters, action, scenes. The Hobbit? Never seen these films, probably never will. Okay, well I have seen the ending of the second one, and I saw the third one in theaters, but I got nothing out of it. Like Lord of the Rings, it's based on a book. Unlike Lord of the Rings, it's based on only one book. They took one book and stretched it into a film trilogy that lasted 8.5 hours. So let's adapt a film trilogy that took one book and stretched it into 3 nearly 3-hour long movies into a LEGO game that will probably stretch it into a 15-hour long game. It's perfect. However, LEGO The Hobbit is already a weird game as it originally only covered the first 2 films. They were later planning on adding the 3rd film with DLC, but that never happened. What does all that mean?
This version probably f***ing sucks too.
And now after playing it?
This version f***ing sucks too.
Okay, so let's be fair here. LEGO The Hobbit isn't nearly as bad as LEGO Marvel or the LEGO Movie. This one takes steps in the right direction to improve these games. I mean, just look at the title screen. It actually has art from the game, not just a logo. Now when a level is loading, you can finally use the touchscreen to view what each of the challenges in each level are. That may sound bad in the sense that it means they're still going for the challenge structure, but hey, at least you can now view what you need to do before playing the level, so you can try and complete as much as you can in story mode. Hopping into the gameplay? Yeah, this is still at that damn isometric viewpoint, but there are a couple of improvements. The big one is you can finally play as more than one person in a level. Finally, you have a party of characters and switch to them at any point, which is a major improvement. It allows for much more puzzle variety, and it is so nice to see it back. There's still only ever one character on screen, which is pretty lame, but hey, finally bringing back character parties is an improvement.
It's like potty training a dog. It may finally learn to shit outside, but it still pisses inside. It's good that it's no longer shitting inside, but it's still pissing inside.
Jumping is back, kind of. You can't jump on your own will. You still have the stupid ass dodge move replacing the jump, but there are these panels that when you run to them, your character jumps.
I mean, it's an improvement, but the dog is still pissing in the house.
I'd say the levels are at an improved length, but it still has the stupid fucking death mechanic where when you die, you have to restart the whole level. But thankfully, they've done away with the stupid level complete or failed cards when your character dies, which is once again an improvement. When you complete a level, it just immediately transitions into a cutscene, and when you die, it just transitions back to the loading screen. However, there's one major thing. Hub worlds are back!
And they fucking stink.
Okay, so great to see these back, but this is not in the form anyone wanted. It's not like traditional LEGO game hub worlds where you can move freely and explore. No. This one, you're locked to these circles and can only travel between them on a preset path. It's so fucking stupid. Going level to level feels like I'm playing Candylands, but then I remember I'm not because I'm not having fun. This is just pathetic, man. Like, hub worlds are back, but in such a stupid and restrictive way. Progress is progress, but
there is still piss everywhere.
So LEGO The Hobbit, it's okay. It is absolutely an improvement over LEGO Marvel and LEGO Movie, although in smaller ways. It feels like this game was nearly complete when LEGO Marvel came out, so they made some last minute tweaks to make it slightly better than those games, but it still isn't great. The hub world is lame, the levels are still pretty boring. Finally, having a character party is nice. Being able to jump again is pretty superfluous as most of the levels were designed without jumping in mind, so lottie fucking da. Overall, this isn't terrible. It's absolutely better than LEGO Movie and Marvel, and hey, even Friends. It's not great, but I'd rather play it than Friends.
Well, that was okay. Definitely a step up, but I wonder what's next.
Ninjago Nindroids. Oh, yeah. This was one of the LEGO games on 3DS that turned my head. I saw this game in the Ninjago Visual Dictionary from 2014 and always wanted it, and this was one of the LEGO games on 3DS that didn't have a mobile version. It always confused me that they didn't make many Ninjago games in the style of traditional LEGO games. All I had to survive off of was the Flash games and LEGO Battles Ninjago, which never gave me the video game experience I wanted for Ninjago. But Nindroids could have given me that if a game called Shadow of Ronin didn't come out a year later and had a mobile port. We'll get to Shadow of Ronin, but I was able to play that since it was on mobile devices, so I stopped caring about this one. But 9 years later, let's see if I can finally care again. So first impressions are already weaker than The Hobbit. The title screen just has the game's logo, and the music sounds like a Sims 3 cover of The Weekend Whip. Like, check this out. This is the Sims 3 title screen. That's the Nindroids title screen theme on the Sims 3 title screen.
These game developers must have been a big fan of The Sims.
Well, onto loading a level and we're regressing. There are still challenges, but now they're stuck on the top of the screen again, and we still can't see what we have to do in waiting for the level to load. So the game itself is an adaptation of the first 5 episodes of Season 3, and we get a recap of how the season begins. And this thing is weird. The voice acting isn't done by the show's cast, which is just weird. They sound okay, but come on. This is a show owned by LEGO. You can't tell me they couldn't get the show's voice actors to do a handful of lines. Because some cutscenes are clips from the show, and they just dub over the clips with the new voice actors, which both looks and sounds weird. As for the gameplay itself,
still piss everywhere.
Okay, so Nindroids is a weird case, as there are various improvements from The Hobbit, but also various regressions. The 2 biggest improvements are free jumping and respawning. Yes, finally. When you die, you just respawn, and it's incredible. It's such a massive improvement, and so is jumping. Since you can finally jump again, levels can be more vertical, and there can also be more combat variety, because besides those 2 things, some of the lame challenges are back, primarily the time challenges, which are dumb. And these level designs are just so damn boring and uninspired. In level 2, this little platforming section is reused twice. Once again, you have more than one character in your party, and once again, only one character is on screen at a time. But hey, the hub world has improved. Just a bit. So thankfully we now have free range and can go where we please. But this is a pretty small hub world. There's a reason I call it a hub world, not an open world. It's just a small part of Ninjago City to run around in, and it's okay. There's some enemies to fight, you can do some exploration, but overall it's pretty superfluous. It's definitely a huge step up from The Hobbit, but
I'm tired of that damn dog analogy.
But overall, that chalks this game up to it's okay, and I like what it did to improve these games. The improvement is apparent, but like The Hobbit, it feels like a half step. There's just some regression from The Hobbit, which just confuses me. It made substantial improvements from The Hobbit, but also went back on some of The Hobbit's improvements. But overall, with the Ninjago theming alongside respawning, jumping, and hub worlds turning, I'd put this above Hobbit. Still below everything else though.
But the slow improvement with each game is undoubtedly noticeable. And there's one LEGO game left in 2014, so maybe this one can finally bring these games back on par with LEGO Lord of the Rings, or at least much closer.
And LEGO Batman 3 is really f***ing close. I've already played through and talked about this game last year when I revisited the entire LEGO Batman trilogy on the DS, and going back to the LEGO Batman 3, well, this is what we like to call a good video game. It reverts back to the level structure last seen in the LEGO movie game, that being each level being made up of 3 smaller levels. But as I said, that structure isn't a bad concept, it was just mishandled. But here, I'd say they pulled it off pretty well. First off, the camera is much closer to the characters and it feels very similar to the console version. It's no longer at that damn isometric viewpoint. The gameplay is the best it's been since Lavals' journey. These levels finally fully revolve around puzzles, platforming, and combat. All 3 of these categories feeling great. This feels much more in line with the quality of the earlier LEGO games on 3DS, and it feels exactly how a 3DS port of LEGO Batman 3 should feel. Batman and Robin and all the other characters you play as all have the special suits that give you special abilities.
Do you think that reminds me of something?
The combat isn't as good as I remember. Don't get me wrong, it's still good, but I have no clue why I remember it being better. But still, this game is just so much better. The best game I've played since LEGO Lord of the Rings. The levels are a blast. Even though they're split up into 3 smaller levels, they still feel like an adequate length because you have to stop every now and then to solve a puzzle. And you're not rushed through the game either. There are still challenges, but this time only 5, and 2 of them are always completing the level and stud challenges. So you have 3 unique challenges per level, which is so much more tolerable and enjoyable than 10 per level. And as I said, the challenges are a great concept, but were executed poorly in prior games. But here, they're handled greatly, and hub worlds are back once again. It's still hub worlds, not open worlds, but hey, they're an improvement. You can explore the Batcave and the Justice League Watchtower, and they're cool. There is a lot more to do in them than in Ninjago City, which is nice, and 2 characters are finally on screen at the same time again. I've already gone on for a few minutes about everything that makes this game great to me, so I don't really have much else to say. LEGO Batman 3 is where LEGO games on 3DS finally started to become great again. Solid handheld adaptations of the console games, and because of how this game improved on the prior ones, I'm gonna say it, this is right under Lord of the Rings for me.
And those were the 4 LEGO games released for the 3DS in 2014. What a lineup! However, the quality gap between the first game and the last game is insane. This year was a transitional year for LEGO games on 3DS, and it's great to see that they went from shitty to pretty damn solid in just a single year, and it gives me great hope for the LEGO games on 3DS in 2015. I may need to retract my last statement.
Ninjago Shadow of Ronin. Now this is a game I have a ton of nostalgia for. You see, Nindroids intrigued me because I could play through the events of Rebooted, but Shadow of Ronin intrigued me because it told a completely original story. 2015 was a crazy year to be a Ninjago fan. That was the first year there were 2 seasons, both of them knocked it out of the park. There was news about a film based on the show releasing in 2016, and this guy came out and oh my God. As a kid, I never really watched Let's Plays as I just preferred playing the game myself, but this was the exception. I watched Let's Plays of this game, I don't even know how many times. I watched the all cutscenes video so many times as well. There were cuts of the pre-rendered cutscenes and cuts that had both the pre-rendered cutscenes and the in-game cutscenes, and I watched both cuts relentlessly. And I eventually got the game for myself, the mobile version. And I loved it. Flash forward to 2021 when I first got my 2DS and I was looking at what other games I should get for it on eBay, and for one of them I decided, why not? Let's get Shadow of Ronin. And I haven't played this version, but I still played the mobile version and I have a lot to say. Shadow of Ronin is a non-canon spin-off of the show. It takes place after the events of Season 4 and introduces a character who would play a crucial role in Season 5 releasing that summer, Ronin. And by fuck do I love Ronin. Ronin was the coolest fucking thing to 9-year-old me. He had a mechanical eye patch and samurai armor and a really cool outfit with an orange arm. Ronin has remained one of my favorite Ninjago characters and is one of the sole reasons I adore this game so much.
I bet I sounded like a f***ing idiot gushing over a Ninjago character from a LEGO 3DS game.
The story is perfectly serviceable. Ronin steals the ninja's memories and powers, so the ninja must find the obsidian weapons, which will give them back their powers and memories. That's a very basic synopsis, as there's much more story. Some of it makes sense, like a level where the ninja try to figure out who Ronin is or trying to figure out what they need to do to get their powers back. And because of that, you get to explore so many locations from the show, which makes this game a blast for Ninjago fans. And I think that's the best way to describe this game, a blast for Ninjago fans. It references various events from the show while also telling a new story that, while it isn't canon, could very much fit in the canon. The level structure is no different from LEGO Batman 3. Each larger level is made up of 3 smaller levels, each smaller level having 3 challenges or so. And yeah, these levels are great. They're the perfect length, short enough for portable play, but long enough and deep enough to feel like a traditional LEGO game level. They have plenty of puzzles and platforming, and it's just a damn blast. This is the last portable only title on the 3DS, and man, what a game to go out on. As a Ninjago game, this game is an absolute blast. I can't really see non-Ninjago fans getting much out of this, but this is a great time for fans of the source material, and a huge improvement over Nindroids. I thought Nindroids was okay, but it still had that LEGO Marvel Superhero stank. But this, I don't smell any stank. It's like
the dog isn't pissing on the rug anymore.
However, there is one thing that disappoints me about Shadow of Ronin, and that is the hub world. It's back once again, but in the worst form since the Hobbit. In this hub world, you are flying on a dragon over a mini Ninjago. This is super lame. There's still some stuff to do. There's a bunch of little things you can destroy to get some collectibles. I like it as a way to travel from level to level, but I'm just imagining a Lavals journey type open world that would have been so cool to see. One that combines various areas from the show into one big world littered with collectibles and references. It doesn't ruin the game, but it does ruin its chances of beating out LEGO Lord of the Rings as my favorite LEGO game on 3DS. Still though, I'd place this above LEGO Batman 3. It's mainly my Ninjago bias taking over, but f*** you. I love this game, and it's awesome that Ninjago got an original title that is mostly on par with Laval's journey finally. Next up, LEGO Jurassic World.
Or as I like to call it, nobody's favorite LEGO game.
Listen man, I like LEGO Jurassic World, but it's just not one of my favorites. However, this is yet another one that I have played through on mobile, and it was alright. But now let's try the 3DS version.
What?
So guess what? My 3DS notices that LEGO Jurassic World is inserted, but it can't read the game card.
So that leaves me with three options. I can skip LEGO Jurassic World. I played LEGO Friends, I can't really do that. I can just talk about the mobile version. That's not the 3DS version. Or I can buy a new copy. I don't want to buy LEGO Jurassic World again, so we're gonna go with option 4, piracy.
This here is my 2DS, and don't tell Nintendo, but I jailbroke it. Listen, I don't pirate and emulate games often because look at this, now look at me. I prefer physical media and the act of playing physical cartridges on physical consoles, but this here is an exception. So I'm gonna do the unthinkable and download LEGO Jurassic World on my 2DS and play it there. This is f***ing disgusting. So, LEGO Jurassic World on 3DS. It's not bad. Much like LEGO Batman 3, this is a pretty damn faithful adaptation of the console game on 3DS. Each level is still split up into 3 sections and there are still 5 challenges. However, this time, the other 3 challenges are collecting fossils and mini kits, which is interesting. I mean, they totally could have made some lame challenges, but hey, I think them just being collectibles is 100% acceptable. And overall, this game is just acceptable. Each film only has 3 larger levels, so only 9 smaller levels per film, which is a bit odd. While this does cut out some fluff from the console game, there are a couple of sections from the console game that didn't make the cut that I think should have. But it's still a perfectly acceptable selection of levels. It's just more the same. I wouldn't say it's better than LEGO Batman 3.
Because it's not.
But it's pretty up there with just being a solid portable conversion of the console game. Although unlike LEGO Batman 3, which still improved on its predecessors, LEGO Jurassic World doesn't really do any of that. The levels are all completely fine, as they were in LEGO Batman 3 and Shadow of Ronin. There's a hub world here, and once again, it's a hub world. Although it's an interesting one. The hub world is the visitor center of Jurassic World, with doors leading to each film. But each film has a mini open world, and by many, I mean many. These really just exist to add a bit when going level to level. You have a puzzle or two in this area that brings back some of the energy that open world LEGO games have, but it's not enough. I think these are fine and completely serviceable and do what they're here to do well, but man, a lot of my memories with LEGO Jurassic World is from exploring the islands. They were so fun to run around and explore freely, so for it to just be limited here, it's just pretty boring. And that's LEGO Jurassic World, a pretty unremarkable title. It's perfectly fine, but just kind of forgettable, which I think largely comes from it being LEGO Jurassic World. Don't get me wrong, I still think this is a solid game, but honestly, it's going pretty far down on my ranking. It's definitely better than Nindroids, since from there downward is that terrifying window of games from late 2013, early 2014, but I'd say I prefer Harry Potter to this, mainly just because Harry Potter is a more exciting franchise to make a LEGO game about.
And those are the LEGO games released for the 3DS in 2015. Damn. These are perfectly fine games, but compared to LEGO Batman 3, they just weren't as huge of a step up. I'd say they're pretty on par with LEGO Batman 3, and it's good to see that these games are sticking more towards LEGO Batman 3 than LEGO Marvel Superheroes, but considering how much of a jump LEGO Batman 3 forward was, these were a bit underwhelming. I'm just still waiting for that moment where we get a LEGO game on 3DS on par or even better than LEGO Lord of the Rings again. Are we ever gonna get that? Yeah.
Lego Avengers. This right here was one of the Lego games of this era I wanted to play the portable versions of the most. I had seen some video of this version and it looked like everything I had dreamed of Lego Marvel superheroes being. One issue, it wasn't released on mobile, so for years this sat in the back of my mind as this game I wanted to play when I eventually got a 3DS. And when I got my 2DS in 2021, this was the other game I got alongside Shadow of Ronin, and holy shit.
This right here is one of my favorite games for the 3DS. I'm a f***ing joke.
So, the story mode. It's perfectly serviceable. It's what you'd expect at this point. It's a damn good conversion of the console story mode on a 3DS. However, they've done away with the 3-part levels. There are 15 levels, and instead of being made up of 3 smaller levels, they made us have 3 different sections, much more akin to the traditional LEGO games. But the story mode isn't really what I care about. What I care about is the open world. Yes, that's right. LEGO Avengers has an open world. And I don't mean a hub world, oh no. I mean a full-on open world. The open world from the console version. Man-f***ing Hatton. When I first saw this, I was blown away. After years of dreaming exploring Manhattan on my DS, that was finally realized in a way. And LEGO Avengers stuck the landing shockingly well. This is Manhattan, as it's seen in LEGO Marvel Avengers, and exploring it is a blast. The thing that blew me away the most wasn't the fact that you had the whole Manhattan map, but there was a ton of stuff to do in it. Races, collectibles, side missions. There's a whole storyline told through side missions here, and it's incredible. And not only can you explore Manhattan during the day, but at night as well, which isn't even possible in the console games. You can drive and steal cars, fly around, jump around as the Hulk, whatever. This alone solidifies LEGO Avengers as the best game we've looked at so far. This is quite literally a dream come true. It's one thing to be able to explore Middle Earth on the DS, but Manhattan is something else. Being able to fly across it quickly, do what I always dreamed of doing as a kid, it's a magical feeling seeing it fully realized. The character roster is excellent. It's much smaller than the console version with only 117 characters, but pretty much any character you'd want is here.
And if they aren't, stop being greedy.
LEGO Avengers on 3DS is incredible. This finally truly does feel like a LEGO game made for a much more powerful DS. Something that wouldn't even be remotely possible on the DS. Running here better than it has any right doing so. It may have a pretty bad draw distance, but who the hell cares? When I finally sat down and played through the story, I fell in love with this game and I couldn't resist achieving 100%. It's a short game, it only took me around 24 hours to 100% it, but I had an absolute blast doing so. Owning it was like a dream come true in more ways than one. And playing through this and LEGO Marvel Superheroes receiving a Switch port in 2021 has made it so much easier to accept the DS version of LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Even if I did act a bit bluntly back then.
This is simply put the best LEGO game on 3DS so far, and considering the fact that there's only one game left, I think it's safe to say that this is the best one, period. And what a damn poetic one to be that. The spiritual successor to the worst LEGO game on 3DS is the best? That's beautiful! And while LEGO games are usually far from my favorite games on any console, this one and what it is so damn special to me. This is a true LEGO Marvel experience on a handheld system. This is what I dreamed of LEGO Marvel Superheroes on DS being back in 2014. And so to actually have this in a form on a DS system, it's so damn magical. And the 3DS has a great library. I mean, you have stuff like Ocarina of Time 3D, but at the end of the day, I'm just gonna play Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64, not on the 3DS. I'd rather play LEGO Avengers on the 3DS. Which, you know what that means. LEGO Avengers is better than Ocarina of Time. Open up that insane asylum for me.
Well, it's been a long f***ing hour full of ups and downs and LEGO Jurassic World. But we finally made it to the final title, LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens on 3DS.
It's good. Alright, let's wrap it up everyone. Let's go home. I'm done here. I'm done.
Okay, let's be fair here. The final LEGO game on 3DS is a Star Wars game, much like, I don't know, the first LEGO game on 3DS. And with this being LEGO Force Awakens, you'd instantly assume that this is vomit-inducing.
Okay, I went an hour without vomiting. You gotta admit, that's impressive.
So The Force Awakens itself, I'm not a huge fan of. I know a lot of people say it was a solid jumping off point for the sequel trilogy. It may be incredibly derivative of A New Hope, but it's much better than The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I hate good storytelling too.
The Force Awakens being so damn derivative of A New Hope kills almost all of my respect for it. The 6 films prior and 2 films after The Force Awakens all stand apart from each other. They may have similar plot beats, but the overarching story of each film is different, whereas The Force Awakens is just...
Oh, do you remember the Death Star?
I don't need to go on about what I like and don't like about The Force Awakens. It's just my least favorite of the sequels and my least favorite episode of the whole saga. But it had some damn good action scenes that would be great to be adapted into a LEGO game, but they did it too soon. LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens is a drawn-out retelling of the 2-hour film as a 9-hour game. What does that lead to? A level where you try to unlock a fucking door in the Resistance base that you have to replay 3 times because it keeps crashing. LEGO Force Awakens is a pretty bad game, at least the flagship version, because the 3DS version is beautiful. This is yet another one of these games I played on mobile, and I really like this one. The story is back to the LEGO Marvel style levels with larger levels made up of 3 smaller levels, but these levels' quality is much more on par with LEGO Batman 3. They're just solid mini levels that last a good amount of time, not too short or too long. Hell, one of the later levels challenges is to beat it in 7 minutes. Keep in mind, back in LEGO Marvel, the challenge was to beat the level in 90 seconds, so I'd say that's an improvement. I'd say the story mode here isn't that bad. It's shorter than the console version, and honestly, I find it to be a length I have no issue with. Some parts from the console game, like the Resistance base level, have been recontextualized into an in-between level mission, which it works much better as. As for the gameplay itself, it's just as good as you want it to be. Lightsaber play is back, of course, and it feels much better, not as weightless as it did in LEGO Star Wars 3.
Who knew 5 years of improvements could do that?
However, my favorite part of the mobile version was the hub worlds. Yet, like the console version, instead of one large open world, you have 4 small hub worlds, but I still think these are perfect for what they are. They adapt the console version's worlds pretty damn well. The camera is once again right behind your character, just like LEGO Lord of the Rings, and having the map on the bottom screen just works so damn well. The hub worlds in the console versions are pretty criticized for being too large and empty, but I find the hub worlds here to be the perfect size. They're large enough to feel like significant areas, but there are collectibles everywhere. Side quests, carbonite bricks, whatever. And they even finally brought back character creators. I didn't mention them for any other prior game because who cares? But they disappeared with LEGO Marvel but finally reappeared here, which, hey, that's good to see. I've 100%ed this version multiple times, and I've enjoyed it every single time. Because of that, this isn't a game I really see the need to revisit, but I still really like it, and I think it's much better than the console version. As for the ranking, I'd say it's below Lord of the Rings, but above Shadow of Ronin. Next up, oh.
That's right, I'm done! And I'm depressed. Those were the 17 LEGO games released on the 3DS, and man, what a journey. These games were released across the span of 5 years, and I think it's really cool looking back at them and seeing how they evolved as the years went on. Slowly becoming more than the DS versions could be before plummeting down to the stuff on par with the Game Boy Advance LEGO Star Wars games, then seeing them rise back up and become so much more than the DS could even dream of doing. Not all these games were good, but I think it makes them more interesting. The fact that they tried to make them more suited for mobile play, then slowly turning back around, seeing that blunder is the kind of stuff I find interesting with games. For games to evolve, developers must try new things, and we saw a ton of that here. They try to make the games open world, they try to make them more suited for mobile play, they try to make the LEGO Movie game good. Some things worked out, the LEGO Movie game is fucking atrocious. And that's okay, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. These are ports of the console games made for the 3DS and other handheld systems. The purpose they serve is to be on store shelves for kids who want to play these games portably, or it's the only way they can play it. And it'd be preferable if the games were good, but I had to stomach LEGO Marvel Superheroes being bad, and I turned out fine. And now these days with the Nintendo Switch, handheld LEGO games are pretty much extinct. I mean, there's one version of LEGO Marvel Superheroes 2, there's one version of LEGO DC Supervillains, there's one version of LEGO The Incredibles. And while I think it would have been cool to see what portable versions of these games would have looked like, I think ultimately it's a good thing that the portable versions of these games are just the console versions of these games, because if kids these days had to grow up with LEGO The Incredibles on 3DS... That thought is the scariest thing I've seen all day. And this human skull has been on my lap the whole time, alright? That's saying something!